Hello everybody! Today I'm going to be redrawing this little watercolor painting I did back in 2019. It's all watercolors and it's done in a Mossery Co. I'm not actually quite sure whether or not it is a watercolor paper or their mixed media paper, whichever one came first, because a friend got this for me, a couple years before 2019, before they even had the second. Whichever of those papers came second, I just got whatever it was. I want to say it's the multimedia, but I could be wrong. But anyway, I have already sketched the new one. I did that off screen because, again, I kind of sketch in some light colors and I put my hand in the way, and that's not fun. But here I am, already trying to be more fluid and loose with the watercolors. I used to love watercolors. I used them for everything, including, back in 2019, they were probably my favorite medium to use. But I have barely used them since then, really. Well, like, I've used them, but not in the degree that I used to. And really, it kind of comes down to that actually, that painting from 2019 in the beginning, that was actually right before I had a huge art block. It started in the summer of 2019, and it's really kind of lasted until really this year, I'm going to say, is when I really kind of broke out of it. I would do, some art or paintings. I had a landscape phase in the end of 2019 for a little bit, but it was nothing that like made me happy. I didn't do art for fun or really enjoyed or liked anything I was making, and I just kind of did other things. I was really into crochet and knitting for a while during that time, and then when I hurt my arm, I couldn't even do that. So it's just kind of like video games and thinking about art, but I really didn't like anything I did. I'm very glad I'm out of that kind of block that I've had for years now, because making art has always been a big part of who I am, and it's just, something that I've always loved to do. And I'm so glad that, I've been making art, like sketching at least every day, doing something, thinking about things. So I thought it would be a good thing to go back to before that big art block and see kind of how I've come, see if, like, I've gotten worse or I've gotten better, and you just kind of compare between that big time block. So that's the real kind of like big meaning behind doing this redraw, is because, it was a really rough time for me dealing with a lot of stuff, but I'm finally feeling like, I'm in a safer place mentally, and I'm feel more comfortable to actually express and work on my art again, which is awesome. Now, I did only do this in watercolor, no color pencils or anything else like that, because the first one was only in watercolor, and I kind of wanted it to just compare like the same exact things. I'm not exactly sure if I used this watercolor palette or like some older ones, but I did get I did get this one around that same time again, because that was like the last big push of art, was when I made that first painting. I was house sitting for my sister, all alone in Nevada, actually, and I was so inspired by the new area and just doing art like every day and working on things. It was great, which made the art slump that started later that summer when I came back home, it was really rough. But anyway, looking back at that first one, I found it recently because I pulled out the sketchbook because it's so pretty. So literally that first painting was the only one I did in, because I get nervous around new sketchbooks that are really pretty and nice. And Mossery is kind of like on the more expensive, like, really pretty covers. My friend got my name, put on the front of it in pretty like golden little lettering. And it's just so cool and pretty, and like Mossery was really big around the time when he got this for me, that I was like, oh my gosh, I finally have one, like all the cool artists on, YouTube and Instagram. Oh my gosh. But then I didn't use it because I was too nervous. So now I'm trying to, like, break through that and use some of the nicer art supplies that I've kind of hoarded over the years. I have, like, next one I'll probably try eventually is I have some 100% cotton paper from, I think, the Bee Company laying around that I haven't even opened yet, but soon. But I thought, a good way to get back into working with this one was redo the very first page. And for this, I tried to do more looser, more vibrant colors, because the first one, I'll pop it up a couple times here, really was kind of Desaturated, I've always had kind of a trouble getting contrast when I need it because I'm like, oh, pretty colors, and then they dry and they're lighter than they were wet, and I just didn't realize it, and I never fixed it or anything. So I tried being one kind of more cohesive with the color scheme. I want to say punchy, but to be honest, it's a very cool tone painting that I do here. But that's because I actually tried to make sure that when I made the purple, I used both a cool red and a cool blue. Any yellows I used my cool yellow that I have in that palette because I made this palette in the sense of Van Gogh watercolors. You can like buy the little case and then the pan separately, and you just pop them in, which is what a lot of them. But they specifically just had like the empty cases and the things, so you made your own ones. So I made sure to get, kind of a cool and warm blue, red, and yellow. I got a black in there. I think I actually only have one green though. But I can just mix them when I need them. And I have black, like I said, and Payne's gray because I'm just obsessed with Payne's gray, or at least I was back in the day. And then like two different browns that I think is a warm and a cool, because I wanted to be able to get kind of the basic of anything that I really wanted to make. But here I wanted to make this picture. It was so boring. In my personal opinion, the first one was very boring. It was just, a girl in a cute little like masquerade mask, which is probably where I got the idea. But I was like, her expression is kind of boring. The mask doesn't look super great where the eyes are. So I thought, how about I make the eyes just like actually cat eyes? Like, what if it's not really a mask? What if your eyes look like that or something like that? I've been listening to a lot of kind of horror podcast working lately, so I kind of pulled that kind of creepiness into the painting as well in the sense, of that. And I used, cooler colors, kind of keep the theme, not the theme, the color palette kind of around the coolness, and so it kind of worked all cohesively. And I bumped up stuff. I made her skin tone. I made her skin and shading way more colorful than the first one. It was practically white in the original, and so I added more shading with some blushes, but also I did some really nice, fun purple shadows, as you can see, which kind of go along with the mask. I do really like how I did the mask, but the hair was not my favorite part of this because I wasn't really liking how it was. Wasn't really sure how to go for it because it's been a while since I've really worked more in depth with watercolors other than like bases of my color pencil drawings lately. So as you hear, here's me just basically just making a bunch of lines. Overall, I do think that this new one in the end is better than the first one, but I'm still not a huge fan of it. I'm gonna say that right now. Like, it looks nice, the colors look nice, but I don't know, the concept just seems meh, or my textures are kind of meh. But I'm thinking maybe later on, either once I've practiced with watercolor more, maybe I'll try it again, or I'll actually do something similar, but not constrain, that's not a word, not keep myself with just using watercolor. Like maybe I'll add some color pencils and then I could really get it how I like it because I do like mixing media lately, especially using color pencils. They're just been so fun. But here's me darkening that dress or whatever shirt she's kind of wearing. First one, it was very kind of grayish, kind of almost same kind of shade or tone to the hair. First doing the eyes, I did mess up on some of the detailing of the eyes, like when I was shading the mask. If I had masking fluid, I probably would have put it down, but all of mine has dried up in the years since I've used it. So that kind of stinks, and I don't use it nearly enough to really warrant to getting a whole new bottle right now. So I just kind of try to keep it out of places I don't want it, but you can see how well that went. But not too bad, especially since I used a more intense yellow for her eyes and I made them just kind of right the brightest thing because I wanted them kind of pop out. But I'm not sure how well they go with the purple of the mask. I know complementary colors, I was like, oh, I'm being so cool with color theory. But we'll really see how it turns out. Doing the shadows, I'm going to be honest here, I don't know what I was doing with these shadows. I was just kind of putting things down where I felt needed more color, more depth, just kind of making things more interesting rather than just being like a full, just like base, like wash of the skin tone and like a little shadow under her neck. I didn't want to just do that. So I'm just kind of putting purple shadows around her neck and They don't make sense, really. I don't know where the light is coming from in this picture. I just wanted it to be pretty, and I just wanted to do the other one better. I did over kind of work her chest a bit because I was like, oh, I'll add some flush, and then I'm like, oh, is that too obvious? I don't want people, focus on her cleavage or anything like that. Um, here's adding me, more red to the face to make that stand out more. And the lips and stuff. I do like the lips, and I may have overworked them a little too. That's one of the reasons why I think maybe this is the multimedia and not pure watercolor paper. It didn't buckle like much at all, and it held on way better than the Canson mixed media I've been using. But after a certain point, when I used a lot of layers, it was just getting a little. But maybe I just worked a little too wet and, right off. And now for the background. In the first one, it's kind of hard to see in all the pictures I take of it, even in real life. It does have a slight yellow background with a sparkly silver sort of watercolor over top. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. I even think I put some of that watercolor on her eyes in the first one. I didn't in this one because I thought it would be a little too much. But I was like, I need it to stand out more. I want it to be more colorful, like I said, more punchy colors. So I went with a more intense yellow in the background. I say intense, it's still pretty, desaturated and cool, but compared to the first one, it's like 10 times so much better and more colorful. And again, complementary colors. That is me. I did have to dab because I didn't let the background dry before I finished up some of the hair. So you do see some, like, it bled into the background a little bit, but I think I kind of fixed that up just using the paper towel to dab up the extra. And I really like doing these kind of like lines. I do really like how the shape of the mask in this one is. I made it, I'm not sure, maybe I know I looked at a reference for this one, but I don't know if I did for the first one. And I really liked it. I added even some shading rather than just doing a plain, again, wash. I really like just doing plain washes and like light shading, and I was like, perfect. And now I'm like, no, 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 no. I need the shading to be more obvious. Contrast is really important in art, and it's something I've noticed that I struggle with, so trying to work on it. Overall, though, I had fun with this, even though I'm not the biggest fan of how it went in the end. Like, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, that's good, but it's not, like, exciting to me. It might just be, things I like to draw or compositions or stuff that are just different from, back in 2019. But I always love redraw videos. I love redrawing stuff even in my sketchbooks. Like if I'll go through old sketchbooks sometimes, especially if they're unfinished and I want to pick them back up, and I see a drawing that I liked the idea of, but it's been a while, so I go on the opposite side of the sketchbook of the page when you open it up and just redraw it like quickly on that side. And I do that a lot. So sometimes when you open up sketchbooks, you'll see two of the same thing, but one's drastically different. I really should date my drawings more. The first one's dated. That's how I knew exactly like when I did it. But I tend to not do it in my sketchbooks, which kind of stings because I'm like, oh man, I forgot about this sketchbook. When in the world did I do these? But oh well. Other people do it and that's great. Sometimes I can remember, but all I know is it's not now. It's from the past. I know it's not. I need to be more organized and I'm trying. I'm going to try to get these videos out more regularly, like probably early Saturdays now. That's when this one is going to be coming out. And I want to get better at organizing my time. It's hard, but I want to do it. I want to try my best to do this and, share videos, make videos that other people enjoy as much as I enjoyed making them. Other though, I will say, voiceovers, this right now, are the scariest part. I don't know why, but it is. But here's me doing more lining. I go over a lot because, like I said, I'll do something and then realize, oh, it's not as dark as I want it to be. So I do go over a lot of things multiple times. Maybe that's my issue with overworking the paper. It's less of the paper and maybe it's just user error. Because I go over the eyes lines a lot. I go around the mask a lot. I just did the dress a couple times, so A+ there. And I did do like the background a couple times. And I do in the background, it's coming up, I do put some metallic paint over that because the first one did, but I wanted to stand out more, so I went with a mix. But I'll get that when we get to it. Here's just more lining, thinking, looking. You see a lot of me just staring at it like, okay, is that good? Do I need to add more? And then I move on. A lot of thinking in watercolor, a lot of layers. There's me. I like these really simple, just cat eyes where they're just lines. I don't know why. They're not super realistic, but I think they look cool. I like to draw them like that. Now here's the metallic paint. It's Finetech. It's a palette that I've had for years when they first started getting popular, like on YouTube or Instagram. And I got this set of Finetech metallics. I think I got it for a Christmas present actually because I was like, oh, I want this so bad. And my parents got it for me, which was super exciting. Now I'm actually mixing the darker gold at the bottom and I mixed it with one of the lighter yellows at the top to not be super overpowering over the yellow behind it. But I did, it darkened it up, made it stand out more. It's really hard to see in the video, but it is metallic, but, a little watered down. But I think it adds a nice little touch. Here's doing the very last bits. Whiskers, I almost forgot to add them, but I wanted to add whiskers. The first one didn't have them, but I thought they kind of added to the piece, and I'm really glad I did them. And I didn't shake too much. Clean line art, things like that, always have trouble, but I think it's pretty cute. And then there I also had, these little dots in my sketch, and I thought make little cat eyebrows. Here's fixing up because they're not in the same place. And these little cat eyebrows, I don't know what it is. I love circle eyebrows on people, cats, they're just so cute. So I thought I'd do that. And just me finishing it up here. Her skin tone is kind of more purpley than rosy than the first one, but let's see. Here's the finished one. Yeah, me trying to see if I could get any kind of shine from that metallic, because you can kind of see it in real life, but it's pretty demure. Then we go back. I also drew it bigger. And then there's that. You can see a huge difference in the colors, like there's actual color tones in this, but this one you just kind of see the purple. Everything else is kind of washed out. Overall, I think I have a better grasp of color and everything, but let me know what you guys think. 2019 or 2022?